Let's do this. We've delayed long enough getting this show on the road. It's time for another draft. I went through last night and kind of scouted out who is available. And my hope, in a way, is that this is the final draft we'll have to do. I think we could see a championship run this season. I might be fooling myself, but I could see it. In terms of who's on our projected list, I mean, again, despite the fact that Clark Garfield is an incredible name, I can't really imagine a scenario where we take him. We might look at Daniel Townsend later on, but again, obviously quarterbacks are a toss-up for us right now. There is one running back that I find interesting, which is concerning, like greatly concerning. There's, again, one wide receiver, and of course he's out of USC. It's the only damn school that generates good wide receivers. He could be the perfect slot option for us. He could be. So, keeping an eye on that guy. Couple of tight ends, as is tradition. See if we end up with any of them. A lot of offensive linemen. A lot. And I hate to say it, most of them are first-round projections. Going to be pretty difficult to end up with them, but there is a chance for some late round steals, which I don't hate, especially down the middle at center. Center's a weird one this year for this draft. My neighborhood lost power all day, including streetlights. So the biggest traffic jam in human history, and that's good news, you say? Fair enough. You got a nice day off of work. Well, did you still get paid, or did you just happen to essentially miss out on a day of work? My Lions franchise that I started the other day had a normal depth quarterback improved to start after winning Rookie of the Year, but there's a quarterback with no concerning grades, 3As in his primary. Should I trade up to draft him? That trade up's expensive, man. I don't know. You might just want to stick with your guy. You might want to. Defensive line, not much help on the way, unfortunately, especially at DT. We need a secondary defensive tackle. DeAndre McGee might be our first-round pick. If he is still available, we need linebacker help as well. Again, more good opportunities at perhaps finding a steal or two. A couple of very good corners, but they're all first to second round projections, as are those free safeties. Strong safeties are a little bit later on. So we shall see what happens. Again, we still don't have that many draft picks to work with compared to what we have gotten used to. See what we can do. Need 29 NFL drafts. I'm ready for it. I am ready for it. Let's do it. Like I said, we can start off tonight on a high note. Our first pick is 19th overall. I can't imagine we'll have the assets or really the desire to trade up. That will be the latest, I think, that we've drafted without actually trading down. We have that, a second, a third, and then some extra picks in the later rounds, which is okay. There is still the idea of trading Josh Leach. And actually, now that I say that, what could we get for him? Linebacker Jacob Hunter would certainly be an improvement on what we have. Steven Spears at tight end. Earl Sermon as a younger DT. Royals isn't bad for the O-line. There's a couple of intriguing options. But having Josh Leach as a backup quarterback is honestly really nice. That way we know if there's an injury up front, we're not screwed. And we do have a quarterback who has literally led us to the playoffs before. I don't think we have too much to worry about here in terms of trades. Pretty much good to go. Just double checking. Shout out to Chest, of course, who went X Factor last night. I still can't believe that. There's really not much to do in terms of these trades. And again, could deal Cater Kohu, but we don't have to. We have the money. Could deal Henson, but he's great for the... I don't think there's anything to do. I don't think there is. So we'll be able to go through this draft a little bit faster than we had in previous years. The Denver Broncos have the first overall pick, and they take one of the quarterbacks, John Coleman, out of Penn State. Colts take a quarterback, Cameron Harden out of Pittsburgh. Cleveland takes a defensive end in Sheldon Tompkins. Sheldon Cheeks off the board, and will the Vikings take a quarterback? No, they won't. They take a linebacker. I want to know where that other quarterback goes. Frank Christie to the Niners. Seahawks take Mitch Glenn. Quarterback out of Purdue, so yeah. It's a good thing we didn't need a quarterback this year, because we would have had to have traded up. Wow, back-to-back picks for the Pats, by the way. We would have had to have traded up by quite a bit. But let's sim to our pick then. 19th overall. And we'll see what we have left on the board. Again, we don't have another pick until the 19th pick of round number 2. So, quarterback-wise, it's only Townsend that's left. There is the running back, Isaiah Warner. Let's see, so there's Warner available. I could take this guy early to make sure that we get him. But that would be pretty early. Second to third round tight end. Let's see, we have numerous left guards. We got a center, nobody there. We got a right guard as well in Tyrone Fryer. The defensive tackle, DeAndre McGee, is still there. Depending on the linebackers available, and we would be looking at later rounds. There's also 4 corners, but again, corners not a huge need at best. If we drafted a corner, they'd be the 3rd best option. Like a couple of these corners look great. Like Eli Rose especially looks insane. I'm gonna write these guys down. It's safety. I mean, yeah, that's just the safeties that are available too. In terms of biggest need, DeAndre McGee, was he out of Arizona? He was out of Auburn. We've taken quite a few good players out of Auburn. Downsides for this guy, he's 23. His reps aren't insane, but he is very well-rounded in terms of strength and mobility. Honestly, those grades are looking pretty good too. A in power moves, B in finesse moves. I mean, based on needs, McGee is the guy. We don't need the running back as much. O-line is solid. I would say defensive tackle is a bigger need than O-line. I feel like it's got to be McGee. I don't deny that someone like Eli Rose could be better. I mean, this guy looks absolutely insane. He does look like he could be a number 1 corner. His tackle and play recognition's a little bit low. But, again, right now we got to round out this team. I think we got to go for someone who's good and who fills the role, because otherwise we're looking at Carlos Nava a little bit later on. He's got the reps, that's for sure. But the D awareness. We need a defensive tackle. There's one here. There's no doubt it has to be Auburn's DeAndre McGee. I'm not totally certain that this will work out for us, but we do have to draft for need. He's the guy. Thank God he's hidden dev at least. He's at least a star at 23 years old, 88 strength. He's got some mobility, too, for a big man. And a gigantic head. Welcome in DeAndre McGee at defensive tackle. That fills a major, major role that we could not fill in free agency. Let's advance to the next round. Well, the corner's not the board. I want to see if anyone interesting is still on the board that we had in the first round. So the running back's gone. That wideout's still there. Debs, what's going on? How are you? trio of offensive linemen. Linemen are still there. Got Dom Adkins at linebacker again. We only have one pick in the second round right now. A couple of those corners are still there too. I mean, if we look at need, it's Dom Adkins. Might not be all that great. And it's that wide receiver. I think we... Oh, God. What would it cost to trade up here with Denver? No worries, Devs. No worries. Let me see. If we were to trade up with Denver, early second round picks, man, they still tend to be pretty expensive, too. Let's see. What would this be? Okay, we'll be simming to our next pick and hoping that that wide receiver lands. Holy hell. Whew. Whew. All right, let's hope that wideout is still on the board with the 19th pick of round number 2. Him or the linebacker, Dom Adkins. That is what we are hoping for. So Townsend's there. Come on, wideout. Yes, he didn't show up at first. I thought he was gone. That's huge. I don't know if we're going to call him Montag or Montague. But he is there, and that is the type of player that we needed. There is an offensive lineman, Eddie Branch. That's a tough player to pass up on, but we do need the wide receiver more than we need this offensive lineman. The ranges are pretty concerning for him, too. Like, he could be just okay. Who else is projected like first to second round, second to third round? Taxi, what's up? I saw that you were likely on the NHL beta. What do you think of it? The middle linebacker, Adkins, is gone, so our choice here is pretty straightforward. There is the one corner, Donald Terry. Any good teams to rebuild aside from Arizona? It's tough because, like I said, every team in this game at the start has at least something good about them. So you'd more so have to look for a team where it's like, well, we don't think they're going to make it. Pretty fun. Good. Let's get you back on hockey this year, buddy. Depending on your work schedule. And Donald Terry doesn't look that bad. But yeah, there's no doubt in my mind we need to go for the wideout. This will finally round out that receiving core. Get this guy as a slot receiver. Make him essentially our own Julian Edelman. Usually get home in Olympia. Hey, well, there we go. Perfect for hockey. Again, you look at this guy's combine. He's got the speed. He's got the mobility, the agility, a.k.a. the mogility. This guy could be a perfect slot receiver. You know, catching traffic needs to be up there a little bit. But this is the type of receiver where I agree, like, some things are concerning about him. But I can mold him into a good slot receiver. And that's what we need. Wide receivers have been in the premium. Our third best wideout's a freaking tight end. This was what's up. Dalton Montague. I'm going to go with, it could be Montag, but I'm going to go with Montague because it's more fun to say. Dalton, come on down. There was a chance of that. There was always a chance of him being normal dev. However, he's 21 and he's an athletic freak. I'm okay with it. It's not a home run pick, obviously, but man, beggars can't be choosers. And he'll have a higher overall, at least I presume, than any UDFA we would have been able to pick up. So I'm okay with this. Again, wide receivers, it has been an absolute crapshoot year after year. It has been brutal. And he's a good run blocker at 5'8", which for a slot receiver puts him into a really unique position. All right, our only pick of the third round. It's really weird to only have one pick in each of the first 3 rounds. Who do we have available that is projected around this time? Oh boy, the list has really started to drop. Is there anybody who isn't day 3? Oh boy, what about linebackers? All right. Our short list has crumbled in record time. Holy God. All right. Well, for day 3 options, we have Kincaid, Michaels, Osgood. We have no choice. Somehow, some way, there's only one linebacker left. I don't know how the hell that happened. So in terms of us getting like a major linebacker improvement, that doesn't appear like it's going to happen. Jose Michaels is going to have to be the guy. And he is pretty prototypical in what we look for. He is an athletic beast, incredibly mobile. Whether or not he ends up being amazing. And of course, he has injury concerns, because everyone I draft has freaking injury concerns. I don't expect this guy to be amazing, but I have to go for it. Because again, you saw how quickly all those linebackers went off the board. I mean, there are some other players that I'm certainly interested in, but let's go for the linebacker, Jose Michaels. Normal dev is my guess. Yeah. It's worth the shot. It's worth the shot. The first pick worked out really well. The last 2, not so hot. Not so hot, but a lot of the players we were looking at ended up off the board very, very early. Which just goes to show that the AI, their scouting, I think, was on point this year. So for day 3's, a couple of safeties and 1 lineman. Given that there's a lot of potential UDFA linemen, I gotta look at what safety I think will be the best here. Wow. Having to pick later in these drafts isn't very fun. Alexander, Combine Beast, no doubt. Play recognition, zone coverage, a stamina. Oof. And what about Osgood? Another Combine Beast. Again, it's tough to say if either of these guys will... Either of these guys end up being half decent. What's Connor Kincaid look like? Mobility leaves a little bit to be desired. Oh, this is rough. In terms of available players, this is pretty rough. Again, just out of pure need, let's go for George Osgood. I don't think he'll be that good, but we'll go for it. Yeah, normal dev here too. I can't believe how fast some of the players we were looking at fell off the board. Like all of our day 3s, all of our 2nd to 3rd round guys, they disappeared in record time. We do have back-to-back picks here. So, well, we can take Alexander too, and then stock up on some depth linemen, I guess. This is a really weird spot to be in. I feel like we're going to be trading down a lot. Mobsky, how the heck are you? Let's take Keenan Alexander as well. I'm expecting normal dev. I really am. Yep. This will likely be our weakest draft on paper, but it is also the draft where we've picked the latest in each round. So that hasn't helped. Let's go for Connor Kincaid, the center. 23 years old out of Bama, hidden dev center. He is 23, though. And I can't imagine that overall will be that good, but at least we get a hidden dev center. Might be able to flip him. And speaking of flipping, we are going to be trading down from like all of these 5th round picks. All of them. Cam, what's up? All right. What do we got for 2030s? 2031 5th rounder, huh? 2030 4th rounder from Atlanta. You got it. You hit it all. 1st round pick, yes. Since then, it's been a little bit rough. But the 1st round pick was the most important one, obviously. So, not too worried. We could trade this one away as well and then probably start making those 6th round picks, but we might as well get value for these. Shout out to BT for the follow. Appreciate it. See if we can get a 5th rounder. A 6th, a 7th. Ooh. 5th and a 7th. in the future. Anybody want to offer up a fourth? No. Take that Houston deal. 5th and a 7th next year for a mid-5th round pick. It's a pretty good deal for us. We're in a really weird spot, man, where we have to start winning because these draft picks are low. And it's that much more difficult to find good talent. That much more. And again, especially when it's like, hey, here are these wide receivers that are left. I wonder why. Because they're fucking terrible. This guy's combine sucks. That's why he's still there. So, we are down to UDFA projections. 3 6ths and 4 7ths. We might as well just go for it with these linemen. We might as well. Let's take Howie McIntosh. 23 years old out of Ole Miss. Let's find our offensive line depth, a.k.a. the future practice squad options. Actually, pretty disappointed in this draft as a whole. I just cannot believe how fast some of those frickin' players were taken. Let's go for Eddie Hopkins. 22 out of the U. Another normal dev, no surprise. Again, the projected UDFAs, it's not often you'll find someone with a dev pattern, but they can be half decent. Oops. Investing in the upgrade that makes trading up cheaper. That's not a bad idea. Especially depending on what trade difficulty you play on. That's not a bad idea at all. Let's go for Cole Reynolds at a BYU. Normal dev there too. It's fine. Let's keep stocking up on linemen. Doesn't hurt to get that depth in there, even though a good amount of them will probably end up going to the practice squad. So we will make the picks until there is nobody left on our short list. I want to make sure we end up with that kicker and punter. Let's go for John Thomas, the punter, out of Virginia. Normal dev, come on. Give me a star or superstar punter. You know you want to. It's the one thing that we're missing. Well, then again, we actually do have a superstar kicker, but it's Evan McPherson, so... Who do we have left on our board? Let's take Bradley Nielsen, the kicker. Out of Utah. Normal dev. This draft has been a whole lot of mid, unfortunately. So we will take that center, if he's still there. If he's not, we'll take that wide receiver, if he's still there. And he is. All right, let's take Damian Dunlap, that is, out of Alabama. Normal dev. I can't believe it. It's been a bad draft for us. A bad draft. Our final pick is that wideout still on the board, just so we can go shot in the dark. He is. 2nd to 3rd round projection. Looks absolutely terrible. Let's take Manny Melton out of Georgetown. Yeah, he is pretty terrible. I mean, his combine numbers, his athletic ratings are okay, but again, you know, if the AI is passing up on a player like that, he is probably dog water, and that is exactly how you could describe that particular player. But the good news is, it was a pretty mid draft on its own, like in a general sense, but DeAndre McGee, hidden dev, and then Montague, whatever you prefer, 75 overall starting. Even though he's normal dev, we should be able to build him up into a very useful slot receiver. Everybody else, yikes. Our worst draft from a depth perspective, hands down. Hands down. That was awful. Let's take a look at these quarterbacks. 80 overall, John Coleman. No surprise, has hidden dev. Again, for the love of God, just add it to all the open space that's right up there at the top. Cameron Harden, another quarterback that went early. He was also hidden dev. Again, we were never going to be in the running for these guys. How good was Mitch Glenn, who ended up in Seattle? Ooh, normal dev. Someone explain hidden dev. So it's basically a fog of war effect where they're either the dev patterns are normal, star, superstar, which grants you extra abilities, and then X Factor, which works like NHL. So that is the general deal there. But yeah, it's a fog of war effect as to whether or not. Holy God. 84 overall left guard that went 11th overall. That is the best player we've seen directly out of the draft so far. An 84 overall left guard, Taylor Hampton, who is the seventh ranked left guard in the league already. 98 strength, 96 impact blocking. Holy shit. What a steal for Tampa. An absolute steal for the Bucks, and that's not the first time they've done that. They got a great corner first overall as well. Last year, the year before. Clark Garfield ends up a Cowboy with hidden dev. Ah, Clark, I wanted to like you. End up on the Cowboys. Damn shame. Yeah, that's where the quarterbacks ended up. But again, we ended up with DeAndre McGee, which I am pretty happy with. And again, there are some wide receivers here that might be half decent. Let's look at Eli Rose. Is he as good as we thought he'd be? No, he wasn't. Again, there are some wide receivers who will end up being good in overall, but their actual ratings aren't going to be that great. In the second round, 77 overall DT was the highest rated there. Dropped off a bit down to a 67. Third round, wow, even in the third round, 77 overall tight end. So apparently the quality was there, we just weren't finding it. 76 overall corner, went in the fourth. Round 5, 76 overall wide receiver, Jared Bryant. Jesus. Do my scouts just suck at finding wideouts? Because they never told me about this guy. He's normal dev. I'd rather have the other guy, in fairness, but that's not bad for a 5th round pick. What do we got in the 6th round? 73 wideout. So yeah, 6th round is where it really started to fall off. And then in the 7th, we had the highest rated guy, the 70 overall punter. So, fair enough. But yeah, Taylor Hampton, 11th overall to the Tampa Bay Bucks. That is an incredible selection for them. Again, it was probably our weakest draft on paper, but I do feel like we filled our 2 biggest needs on the team with another wide receiver and a defensive tackle that we desperately needed. Again, we have the superstar face of the franchise quarterback in Dennis Payne. We have Cameron Walton back for another year. Wide out now, it's the top 4 that you see there, which I'm very excited about. I think they're going to crush it. Again, especially with Dalton as a slot receiver. Tight end wise, it's still Lonnie Reed and Joey Casey. The O-line isn't the most insane. I mean, we have Jay Williams as a good anchor. The O-line's not absurdly good, but it's not poor. D-line with Chest Williams, Forrest Harris. Now, Darryl Hunt and DeAndre McGee to work around. So that's a bit of a weakness on paper, at least temporarily. Then the linebacker core is still our weakest aspect, unfortunately. It's not miserable, but we do not have a game-changing linebacker. And again, John Groves dropped from superstar to normal, so that certainly hurt. The corner depth is still insane, as are the 2 safeties, Derek Ridley and Matthias Griffin. So I would very, very much expect us to be back in the playoffs this upcoming season, and I'd like to think we are officially in Maple Leafs territory. I'd like to think we can win a round. Please.